Hello everyone, welcome to the second session of the Learning Summit. So I hope you got a lot out of the first one. We talked about some cool stuff. We really dived into measured branching, which I always love talking about, such a key methodology to great development in Power BI. And then also we went into some more advanced DAX functions, which I hope you got a lot out of. What did you think? Let me know in the chat. I'm really interested to know how things have kicked off. We had a great, amazing turnout to the last session, many hundreds. So super excited about that, and expecting a good group here as well. Today, in this particular session, we're going to talk about some of my more recent data visualization tips and tricks and techniques that I've been using. Now, I just spend a lot of time just thinking about really good development in Power BI, and a lot of development in Power BI that I see is missing one key ingredient. It needs to look good. Okay, your reports need to look good. I feel personally that just having generic tables and simple visualizations using the default color palette is just not good enough. Okay, you want to make things that stand out, look amazing, and that your stakeholders are going to look at and be like, wow, that's incredible. Not only has it got great insights, but also it looks fantastic and I want to look at this every day. That's kind of the way that I feel about it. It's very similar in terms of the way I think about visualization, is that if you're looking at someone presenting in a PowerPoint presentation and they just have generic text on their PowerPoint presentation, it's highly likely that you're going to fall asleep, right? I mean, I used to, and I still do if I see those sort of presentations, right? And so it's all about making things visually look really compelling, and that's what this particular session is going to dive into. I'm going to dive into a number of my techniques for that. Okay. All the techniques that I use, and you can just take inspiration from them. Take inspiration and utilize them however you like. Okay. So we'll dive into it. We'll make it as short, as sharp as it needs to be. I'm certainly not going to just keep talking for if I haven't got anything valuable to share. Okay, so very short and sharp, to the point. This is how I do it, basically. Okay, this is how I create the reports that I create that I think visually look quite compelling. Now, just like last time, what we'll do is I'll focus on the content, and that's I think that everyone really benefits from that. But if you do have questions, you want to ask something, absolutely do it. Ask it on the chat. I will try my best to look over and see if I can incorporate it into what I want to talk about. But if not, then there will be some help for you. I've got the Enterprise DNA team on board. They are willing to assist with any questions that you might have. Okay. Now, let me switch over. Let's jump into it. I want to talk through a few things here. Okay, so we're going to focus in on this visualization here, okay, and some of the techniques that I used to create it. And I think that you can take out of it many of these into your own. Okay. Now, so you see here that I've got this color palette that I think looks quite seamless across the entire report. So that's a key part to this, is making sure that you implement a color palette well. But then also I've got things set out in a grid-like format, even though you can't see it, but it does actually make things flow a lot nicer. Then I also have incorporated things like icons, etc. Okay. The other big thing that I want to talk about and I go through is how to create this application-like report. Okay. Now, I've used a very quite simple tech, visualization to do this, but you're going to see that this is actually quite easy to implement, and you could do this quite easily in your own reports. But it does add a different element to your report. It makes it look more professional, etc. So I'm going to show you what I did for that as well. Okay, let's come back here. Let's come back here first. Now, whenever I start something, I always look for inspiration, okay? Now, as you'll know, the color theme, especially the default color theme in Power BI, is absolutely horrible and is unacceptable, in my view, in terms of putting content out with that particular default color palette. You can do better, and it is not hard, okay? They have improved the switch theme a little bit. They've included some themes. I might have an older version here, but in the theme feature here, you can actually quickly get some better themes very easily, and I think they're going to improve it even more. almost even up to like a year and a half ago, you wouldn't believe how hard it was to actually create good colors in your reports. It was obscenely hard and time consuming, but now it is a lot easier. But I'm going to show you how to make things even better, how to get unique themes that might suit your corporate theme or what might suit your corporate branding, right? I'm going to show you how I did it for this one. Okay, so what I do for this is I go to Google and I go and I type in things like this. I type in purple gold background image. I type in something like this, purple gold background image, and I go okay. And so what this does is it actually brings up all these images, and then I go into Google and I go images. And so you see here that it then brings up all of these great images that we could utilize as inspiration for color themes in our particular reports. Okay. So this is how I generally start when I'm creating demos, or even when I'm doing some corporate work and working with a client or a team that needs to generate a theme for their Power BI reports. This is exactly how I usually start, is I find colors which represent their brand, or I take their logo or something like that. Now, the particular one, I think I might have actually typed in something slightly different for this particular report, because this is what I found. Okay. So this was my inspiration for the colors. It's kind of like an artist, right? You're looking for inspiration. This particular grouping of colors was my inspiration. But that's not all, because it's very difficult to just look at a picture like this, right, and go, okay, well, what is the hex color for all of these different colors? I mean, who knows how to do that? No one. So this is just the start. So I download this as an image, right? Then I come to this great online tool called Color Palette FX, okay? And so what this awesome tool allows you to do is drag in any image here. You can drag in any image, and it will actually generate a color palette based on that particular piece of inspiration, that inspirational image, okay? So then what I did was I came here, and then I found my image. And you'll see that this was the color palette. So you see here that this actually generates the color palette based on this image. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. Now, what we can then do inside of here is actually go and grab each individual hex code, which is what we need for the color palette. So you see here, I can click through and I can find all these particular hex codes. And so you see how we can build this up and we can create our color palette based off this. Now, when I actually did this last time, this actually was a lot more detailed. So I'm not sure why it's not the case here. So just give me 1 second. But in any case, hopefully you can see, how you would do it, right? I had a lot more colors that came up when I actually did this. So that's how I built my entire palette. But there are other ways you can build your entire palette too. These are obviously the core colors which go into this theme, right? And so then what I do, and this is in the resource pack. So then what I do is I then go and change these particular colors here to that particular palette. So you see here that this 88466 is this first number here, and then it'll be the same for the next one and the next one and then the next one. And then I build up my palette that way. Okay. Then I create my JSON file, and then I bring it into my model. Okay, so hopefully just by going through that, you can see some of the how I actually come up with these things, how I actually make color palettes that sort of stand out. Now, there's other things that you can use to assist with this. There's a cool website called Coolers, I believe. I'll just see if I can bring it up. I've got them all in this one place. Yeah, Coolers, and this enables you to generate even more palettes. So another cool website to go to. But what I'll do is I'll make sure that a link gets placed in the chat as well that goes into a bit more detail about how you can finish off your palette using this particular tool. There's a video that I make as a preview at Enterprise DNA Online that you can dive into. But when I found this was a huge help in creating themes quite quickly that all sort of matched out and had the right colors. Okay, and then enabled me to then jump into something like this. Now, what are the other things about colors in your Power BI reports that's important? And that's a big tip from me, is that even though, so let's actually go and have a look at the palettes inside of here. So even though you now have this really detailed palette, you do want to choose between 3 to 4 main colors, maybe 5 main colors that you use. Okay, you don't want to be using a whole variety of these colors because it still will not look as seamless or as well integrated if you just use a few. Okay, you don't want to start using 20 different colors in your reports, even though your theme will be will be very similar. It still won't look as good on your report. Okay, so you've really got to just pick a few different colors and not overload the consumer with too much. That's a huge, big tip for me. So you see here that a lot of the colors are pretty similar in this report. There aren't that many. We've got the same sort of purple. We've got this very light red, even brownish, the bright yellow, and then the more sort of orangey color, more goldy color there. Okay, and these are reused across all the different elements of this report. Okay, so that's my color theme tip. Okay. And also just how I think of things, how I think of things. Now, another big tip if you are struggling with inspiration, okay, if you're struggling with inspiration, a lot of times what I do when I create these reports is I actually just try and create the visualization first before I actually go and calculate the results. Now, you might think that's a bit counterintuitive, but I find that if I'm trying to do the calculations first and trying to build it up trying to build them up at the same time, it can actually get a bit overwhelming. So what I do is I try and make things look good from my visualization perspective, and then I backfill with the calculations at the end. And how that helps is that I make sure, okay, visually I've got things right. And then I think, okay, well, what sort of results would look good in this visual? Things certainly change up. They don't always, they're not set in stone, but at least it gives me an opportunity to look at what things would look like ultimately for the consumer. And then I try and then get the right calculation into the right area to make it flow correctly. Okay. And so that's another big tip that I've found has really helped me a lot from a visualization perspective, because it can get overwhelming. You've got to think, you're developing these reports, right? There is a lot of elements that go into building a good Power BI model, which aren't even visualization related. Visualizations is sort of just the last thing that occurs. But to me, I feel like they're very important. So I actually integrate it quite early on into my development. You know, I build my model, but then I make sure, okay, well, how am I going to represent this? What am I going to try and show? How am I going to represent this in a compelling way that people are going to really enjoy reviewing and looking at? You know, the functionality that I want in the report, and that's you know, why I do a bit of design, and then I backfill with results. Now, so what do you think? What do you think about that? I know some of these ideas are probably a little bit different to how you think, but you know, I've developed so many models now, and that I've kind of got into this flow around how I do it, and I think it works well. I honestly think it works really well, and you know, this is just really an opportunity for me to show you how I do it, you know, to show you how I think and show you how some tips that I think might help you do it yourself. Okay, now another big tip that I have, which I think will help you a lot in terms of making things look good, and this is definitely a forgotten element, which is seriously so easy to do, but people don't realize it. That it helps people visualize information effectively. Okay, now big tip here is to think in grids. Okay, think in grids when you're setting up visualizations. Okay, now you can't see a grid with a line here, but there is one. There is one. Now, if you look at some of my other showcases that I've generated that are on the Enterprise DNA website. So if you go to Enterprise DNA/Power BI showcases, or if you can navigate there from the homepage, you will find a lot of showcases that have grids actually laid out, like physically laid out with lines or with shapes, etc. But what I've done here is I've created a grid, but I've done it in a much more subtle way. Okay, so you see here, let's draw a line here. So you see along here, this particular space here. Let's actually expand this a bit bigger. This particular space here in the middle, this is basically a grid, right? All this space in here is a grid. There's also a grid here, along here, another sort of rectangular grid that you can put there. Check out this grid up the top here. So this grid up the top sort of goes along here, then comes down here, and then comes all the way back along here. So another grid up the top. Then check out this grid here. This grid basically flows all the way down to the bottom of the screen, another grid on the right-hand side. Then along the bottom, we have another grid down here. Okay, so you might think this is pretty simple or straightforward, but trust me, this is totally forgotten in so many reports I look at. But thinking in grids also enables you to allocate visuals to the correct spots in your page, okay? And then work out, okay, well, what fits good where? Now, sometimes I make my grids really obvious and sometimes I don't. But in this particular case, I decided to do it in a more subtle way and try and make it look sort of seamless along my report page, a bit more seamless across my entire report. And I just thought that it flowed better. It flowed better. It was easier to, create visualizations that look like this, and then see, you see how you were clicking into sort of like a, we're actually not clicking into, we're clicking into, sort of a box here that sort of flows to the rest of the visualization. We see how the map filters all of our trends filtered down here, etc. Okay, so that's probably enough on that. Now, I want to show you some of these different sort of visualizations I've created, because you'll see some different sort of things here than the standard, out of the box visualizations that you can create. Now, none of these are custom visuals, okay? So I haven't used custom visuals extensively historically for a variety of reasons. They are getting better though. I never thought custom visuals were stable enough. They weren't historically. They weren't able to be used on mobiles, etc. So there was a lot of things holding them back. I do believe that they have improved a lot, but in this case, I haven't used them again. I've just used the standard visuals, but I've mixed and matched them in a slightly different way. Right. So what we have here, and let's just have a look at a few of them. So what we have here in this particular visual here, so you see here, this is quite unique, right? It's not a slicer per se. It's not a pure slicer in its purest sense. What this actually is it's actually a table that I've manipulated around so that it actually just sort of looks more embedded into the page, right? Looks more embedded into the page. So what we can see here, so check this out. This, I'm highlighted over that particular, you see here that this is actually a table. And what I've done is you go to the paint roller for any of these sort of changes. What I've done is I've changed up a lot of things inside of here. For example, a lot of the backgrounds are actually the background of the page. So the background color here is exactly the same as the background color of the page. So that's how it basically is totally transparent and looks like it's actually on the page versus so like an element on its own. And I've just positioned it in a way that enables it to sit within two of my other visualizations. And you can click on it, and it's sort of like when you look at it like that, it just sort of highlights it, or it bolds it, and it grays out the other visualizations versus, having sort of background color or looking more like a generic slicer. Okay, and I think it works well. Like it's a different look and feel, but visualization at the end of the day is personal preference. But I think that for this visualization, it worked well. I played around with a number of things. This is what it landed on. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is you see here that background color. This is the background color of the entire page. What we also now have is these wallpapers, which I thought was quite cool, which I've integrated in. This is pretty new. And so what you can do is you can actually color the outside now. This used to be gray or white, but now you can actually create a color for that too. And so you can change this around a bit. I landed on this one. I thought it looked quite good. If I moved it to, say, the same color as before, because of the transparency, it doesn't actually do too much. So I thought that was a color that contrasted well with the rest of my report. So I think wallpaper is a good addition. I like it. I actually quite like it. Now, a lot of the other visualizations, you'll see a few different things here. Now you see here that in a lot of things, I don't actually have X and Y legends or anything like that, because a lot of these things, right, I just want to showcase trends. I'm not too caught up in the value. I'm not too caught up in the time. I'm more caught up in the trend. But what I've done to supplement the bottom axis, where usually you would see the date. So you see here, we've got the date here across showing us the date time frame. You know, a lot of these don't have that sort of in the axis. So you see here, no date time frame, no date time frame, no date time frame, no date time frame, etc. So you can look here or you can look here. But what I've also done here is I've actually placed the months that we're looking at in a card. So what I've done is I've actually integrated my DAX formulas into here. So check this out. So what I've done is just via this particular formula, and this is how you can integrate formulas into your visualizations as well. Via this formula, I have gone and worked out, okay, based on my selection here, what is the month of the first month? So the month of October here, what is that particular month? And this particular formula enables me to find that. And I've done exactly the same for the last month here. So you see here, I'm working out the max day in the current context, which is September 2018. And I'm trying to work out, okay, what is the month and year there? And that's how I then am returning September 2018 and October 2017. So just another way that you can, instead of having axes, which showcase all the information, you can actually generate different visualizations which show it effectively as well. Another one I really like is that we can now change the size of these donut charts. Okay, this is again relatively new. So you see here that this is a donut chart. Usually these are thicker. Okay, and so what I've done now is I've come in here and we can change the inner radius and make it smaller, make the actual donut part of it smaller, which enables us to do these cool visualizations. So instead of just having the donut chart with nothing in it, which is kind of what I've got down in this part of the visualization, I've actually inputted a number inside of here, which produces additional information, which is valuable. So check out this. This is quite a cool visual. What I've done is I said sales of the top 20%, right? Okay, so this is, so you know the 80-20 rule, the Pareto rule. A lot of your sort of sales, etc., or profits will come from your top 20% of something. Right? So I've tried to put this into a visualization. I've said, where do the bulk of your sales come from? Where do the top 20% of cities, how much top 20% of city performers or store performers, how much sales do they actually contribute? So cities, it's 36%. The top 20% of products contribute 43% of sales. The top 20% of customers contribute 43% of sales here as well. So pretty cool. And this number actually, and embedded in that donut chart, I think looks really good. And this number also changes based on the selection that you make. So you see here that if we're just looking at West, the cities in the West versus the customers in the West. So pretty, not only a very interesting insight, I believe, but also quite a compelling visualization done in a unique way. There's no data labels or anything like that, because the key information that I wanted to generate here was this 20% sales of the top 20%. So another cool idea for you. Okay. So what do you think? What do you think about some of these ideas that I've gone into? Okay. I'm interested to know. You know, this is quite a unique session that I haven't really done before. I'm sort of telling you all my ideas and I guess you could say, IP around how I do things. I've done so many of these, and I've really nailed down these techniques, which I try and replicate over and over and over again, and it enables me to create really good and high quality reports quite quickly. It doesn't take me weeks to put out stuff like this, because a lot of it can be done in a relatively quick way. I replicate a lot of the ideas I've had in other reports and other visuals and other calculations, and I replicate them in new ones, in new reports, just by changing a few things. Okay, I think that's the bulk of what I wanted to cover here. So I'll just make sure I'm not forgetting anything. But I think that's the bulk of what I wanted to cover in terms of my ideas here. But there is one further thing that I really want to dive into a bit more around bookmarks. Cool. Hopefully you're getting those questions answered. I'm gonna jump over to this next idea that I quite like, which I think has a lot of further application, even further than what I've done here. But basically, let's check out this example that I've drawn up. So this is the report actually embedded in on the web, right? So this is published to web. This is the published to web functionality, and this is the same if you're in the Power BI online service, right? So what I wanted to do here was I wanted to create a navigation page. Okay, so let's check this out. So we're looking at we're looking at embedded on the web now, right? Now I wanted to create a way for me to, or a user, any consumer to be in a quick way to navigate to where they want to go, right? Now, especially when it's in this sort of format, where it's published to web, it's not immediately obvious how you get to certain areas in a report or a model, right? It sometimes takes, like, a user would have to sort of click through to go and find what they want, and that can take, a bit of time, right? Now, what I've tried to do is I've tried to make it more seamless. A lot of people also don't know you can actually click this very bottom thing here and actually navigate that way, but a lot of people actually forget about that. They actually don't realize it. So this is just another way. It's not the perfect visualization idea for every single report, but I definitely feel that there is some application for this. Okay, so basically what it does, we can select which page we want to navigate to by clicking on an image, below. Okay, so all of these navigate to a specific page which I have set up. So for example, I can click on this, click here to follow link. So I click on that and it takes me to that particular report page quite seamlessly. Now, also what I've done is we need a way to get back here, right? So what I also set up was to move back to report navigation page. So check this out. To move back to the navigation page, click the world globe. So you'll see that these world globes are actually scattered. These images are actually scattered across the rest of the page, rest of the report. And these are there strategically so that you can click back to here quite seamlessly. So, for example, say for instance, I want to go and analyze my cohort analysis page that I've got. So this is the topic we'll be covering tomorrow. So we've got our cohort analysis. We're looking at how our cohorts are performing through time. We're going to talk about retention rates in this particular session. Say for instance, okay, I'm done here. I want to look at something else. Where else can I go? Now I have this set up, my world globe, to click and take me back to my navigation page. Can you see how it's becoming more like an application? I mean, this is seriously cool stuff. This is, and there's so you can take this a lot further. You might have a really complex report, right? That has 15 pages, which might hold information which is relevant only to a particular meeting you're going to. Well, this is a way to make a very professional looking application that can enable navigation around your report really seamless and really effective. Okay. Now, how do we do it? So what we can also do is we can say, let's have a look. What do we got here? So we could go to say cross-selling, right? We'll click to cross-selling. This is going to be during the cross-selling session. We're going to jump through how we run all these sort of calculations. Okay, well, I'm done here, done my analysis. I want to jump back to my report. Now I want to go to my demo workings, and there's not much in this one at the moment. Jump back. It's quite so seamless, right? So seamless, and you can create. This is not just restricted to this. You can navigate from any page to any page to any page. Very, very anything. You can have specific filters on a page depending on what you click. So you could actually navigate to exactly the same page, but just have different filters on that particular page. So that's why it's quite powerful. Okay, so let's jump back and see how we actually have done it here. Now you see, first of all, that this is a different sort of size of page. Now I did this on purpose because I thought that it actually just looked better in this sort of format from an application point of view than if I just had the generic page like like set up like that, right? So I narrowed it down a bit. Now that's very simple to do. All I did there was I came and changed the page size. So I changed the page size to this one, and that just narrowed up the navigation page for me. Then I got my icons. Okay, so I've demonstrated this before, but let's do a quick view. It's seriously easy. What you can do is you can go to a website called Flaticons. Okay, so Flaticons is a pretty cool website. It's very cheap subscription. I think it's like less than $10 a month or something like that. And I use a lot of these, so it's very, very quick and easy to do. And you can type in anything up here and get an icon for it and download it and integrate it into your report. Okay, and that's basically what I've done here. I do for all of my reports basically. And icons actually add this additional level of professionalism. They certainly do. Compare reports with or without icons. I think ones with look better. That's a personal view that I have, so that's why I integrate them a lot. Okay, so how do we do this? How do we do it? Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure you have these particular, especially the bookmarks. You need bookmarks enabled in your report. Okay, so they should be. I don't believe it's on preview anymore. I'm pretty sure it's embedded into the actual product. So let's click on bookmarks. So what you need to do here, and it's way easier than you think. So basically what you need to do is you need to be on the page, essentially be on the page with a certain subset of filters. So whatever filters you want on the page, make sure the page looks exactly how you want, right? Then go add, okay? You need to add that whatever that looks like as a bookmark. So for instance, this one is my bookmark, right? So you see here, I click that and things change. If I click, say, cohort analysis, you'll see that I set up that particular bookmark when I was on this page, set up in a certain way, okay? And so on and so forth. So you need to add your bookmarks here. It's seriously, there's nothing harder. All you got to do is go add and then change the name. I mean, it's very, very simple, right? Then what you need to do is you need to create this sort of setup in here. Now, with your images, for example, to link a bookmark, we need to link a bookmark to an image here, right? So to link an image, you click on the image. So you select it like so, then come into the format image section here. So you see here, format image. Then the thing to find is action. This will be turned off initially. You need to turn that on and then change the type to bookmark. Find which bookmark you want to add it to, okay? And because I've set it up in a way where performance insights, well, it's pretty obvious that I'm going to performance insights here, right? Then cohort analysis is cohort analysis, and so on and so forth. Now, the key takeaway there is that these bookmarks, they don't have to be just pages. They could be a very specific filtering in a particular page as well. So you can have so many of these bookmarks if you feel that it is a much better way to navigate to and from particular insight. In terms of data sort of storytelling, this is an incredible addition to Power BI. Incredible addition. They've added so many different elements or different ways that you can consume information. You can get your user to use and see information or to tell stories about information. You've just got to sort of reimagine or expand your mind in terms of the possibilities with this. Okay. So that was one of the other sort of key things I wanted to cover. How you can start building these application-like reports. And I think that when we really analyze how this could work or how this currently works, I think it's incredibly effective. I think it is really effective how easy it can be to set up a page like this and navigate to the specific thing that you want to look at. So then we can quickly drill into cross-selling, analyze whatever we want to analyze there, then quickly back we go and jump into the next thing. I think that's pretty cool and a very effective visualization tip for you. Okay, any thoughts? I think I've shown you the key things I wanted to go over. So I've gone over quite a lot. Yeah, and that, by focusing on the content and not jumping too much back and forward to the chat, I find that is really effective. So hopefully you agree with that as well. It's worked well so far. It's worked well in past events. So I do feel it's the way to go. But if you've got any questions, certainly let me know at this point, and make sure that you're getting the help that you need. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think about that? We've gone through a lot, in terms of how I get inspiration, how I actually implement things, and then how I think you can take things even further now. There's some pretty exciting things or ways that you can utilize all of these techniques in a combined way, right? It really, in my view, it's starting to look like a reporting application or a storytelling device, right? Think deeper about what Power BI allows you to do. If you build things well, it is a storytelling device that is immensely scalable, right? It's not an ad hoc PowerPoint presentation. You can create things once, basically press refresh or have refresh organized, and have these compelling stories to tell on an ongoing basis. It's seriously powerful stuff, right? Okay, so I think that's about all I want to cover today. I'm going to just switch back to me. We can do a bit of a summary. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. I loved going into these techniques. Such cool techniques. Talking about this sort of stuff and how you can build these amazing reports now. I mean, it's so easy to get excited about this from my perspective. Working in the data trenches and in previous occupations, how hard it was to generate this stuff, to make stuff look compelling. It is just so much more. It's so much easier and far more effective now when you combine all these different elements in your Power BI reports, from a really effective querying your data effectively, transforming tables, getting rid of, cleaning up your data, etc. Then building an effective model, and you can do that a number of different ways. Really good analysis through DAX calculations, and then really compelling reports. I mean, combine those I call them the 4 pillars, right? The four key pillars of high quality development. Combining all of those, just crazy stuff. It's crazy how good it can be. Okay. I think we'll round things off there. Another great session. Thank you very much for coming along. Hopefully you got as much help as you wanted, and got some links there to follow up on if you want to learn more about visualization. There's a lot more visualization tips that I've been able to cover today, all organized within Enterprise DNA Online. That's the online education portal from Enterprise DNA. There's a whole section on dashboarding and visualization tips. So there's even more that I haven't been able to touch on here. There's some really cool ideas that I've developed over time. So certainly, if you want to have a look at that and see what some other inspiration around reporting development and techniques, etc., certainly check that out. Some of that is an upgrade, so I would have to upgrade to membership, but there is a lot of content there that you can review as well, which has been made as a preview. Okay, I'm going to sign off. Great first day to the summit. Really, again, appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully you got a lot out of these 2 sessions today, and in particular this one around visualization. A lot more coming tomorrow. We've got some really excited about the morning session tomorrow, cohort analysis. This I don't feel is covered anywhere. This is brand new content that I think will blow your mind in terms of how good it is, in terms of the analysis power analytical power that you would have around this sort of stuff. We're going to go through a really comprehensive real-life example around retention rates for customers, etc. And so I'm going to show you how you can combine lots of formula techniques for that. And then in the afternoon, we can go through this technique or these analytical ideas or idea around scenario events. So a brand new concept as well. So pretty excited about going through that stuff. I've been working on that quite a bit of late. Okay, signing off for today. See you tomorrow, and watch out for an email from me shortly. I'll be sending out a replays and resources link if you haven't got that already, so you can review some of the stuff we've covered today. Okay, all the best.